Since the dawn of man, champions have stood in rivalry of one another. Cain and Abel, David and Goliath, Batman versus Superman. None, however, matched the sheer cataclysmic power of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon.
Anyone who owned a classic PlayStation is probably familiar with gaming legends Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot. However, a long time ago, in the distant past of 2004, the characters were in severe decline from their heyday in '98. Now, what's Vivendi Games to do with two classic gaming icons? Well, they could revive the series in a way that pays respects to the classics while building upon them with fresh gameplay ideas. But did I mention that Vivendi Games eventually became a part of Activision? So, part of the course, they just hoard them out into shitty spin-offs. I'm speaking, of course, of Crash Bandicoot Purple, Ripto's Rampage, and Spyro Orange, The Cortex Conspiracy. Personally, I've always been a bigger fan of Crash, so I'm gonna play that one. Did I get lost forever again? Fuck me. Gather round, children. It's time for a fantastic tale of bravery and triumph. But first, we must be introduced to our nefarious villains, Dr. Cortex and Supreme Emperor Ripto. How did these two meet and begin their campaign of conquest, you ask? The game never tells you. By the time it starts, they already know each other and have hatched their scheme, which, by the way, involves them sending enemies from one world into the opposite world and making them wear Halloween masks so that, as Ripto puts it, our foes won't realize that they should be on the same side. Is that how Ripto sounds? Bah. That's some A-rank plot right there. Give them a BAFTA award. The Last of Us? Fuck The Last of Us. We've got Crash Bandicoot Purple, the pinnacle of games writing. Okay, maybe I'm being a little too hard on this game. It is a game for kids after all. So the talking mask Aku Aku and Crash's sister, Coco, realize that something isn't quite right with these mask-wearing dinosaurs, rightly assuming that Cortex is behind it. So they decide they need a brave and fearless hero in order to save the day. But all they've got is Crash, so fuck it. And with that, our hero's journey begins. Oh, hey, this actually doesn't look too bad. Visually, it's a little busy, but it looks like a Crash game. Everything's here, the jungle, the Wumpa fruits, crates. Okay, I can get past the writing if gameplay is decent. Good job, game developers. Round of applause. Oh, these must be the warp pads they keep mentioning. Okay, so this is like a hub world, and each of these is a level, and once you beat the level, you get the crystal, and you can move on. That's basic Crash formula. I'm actually kind of excited. Wait, what's this? A minigame? The original Crash games had a couple minigames here and there, and this looks just like the polar bear levels from that, only the controls aren't so good. Okay, well, it's not bad. I make it through the level with the crystal in hand. After more exploring around the hub area, I found the second level. I'm ready for some more platforming goodness. Wait, what? It's a game where I have to shoot oncoming sheep with a fucking rocket launcher? I don't remember that from the older games. Not only that, but these sheep are already suicidal. If I just did nothing, they would run right into these nitro barrels. Why the hell am I killing them if they're just gonna kill themselves anyway? Whatever, it's tedious, but at least it's easy enough. The third level is by far the worst one yet. It's a game where you drive a tank and have to work your way through a maze. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. The controls are awful. You use the directionals in order to control your tank. The up button moves you forward, and left and right rotates the tank. But you can't use them at the same time. You have to move forward, stop, rotate, fix your rotation because you messed up, and then try and dodge enemies with all this going on. I hate these levels. It's so tedious. But of course they've got nothing on the next minigame. In this one, you control a chopper and have to shoot tanks out of the sky as they parachute in. If a tank shoots you, it's game over. If a tank makes it to the ground and crashes into the pod, it's game over. You're supposed to be able to lift the pod up so the tanks roll right under it, but you can't shoot while the pod is lifted, so the tanks just fall from the sky endlessly until one of them shoots you. The only way to win is to have a perfect run and kill every single tank. I've said this a lot in this review, but it's fucking tedious. That's the reoccurring theme here. Everything is so damn tedious. The final minigame of the level actually isn't that bad. You've got to navigate a river in this rocket-powered hovercraft. It's alright. After that, I arrive at the boss gate. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. The epic showdown between Crash and Spyro. As they stand on opposite sides of each other, they fight. Wait, are they throwing Molotov cocktails at each other? Damn, they take this shit seriously. I think I could learn a thing or two from them. I'm ready for my revenge, Jeremy from elementary school. Oh, maybe not. Also, unless I'm wrong, Spyro is a literal goddamn dragon. Why the hell doesn't he just breathe fire instead of using a Molotov cocktail? The best strategy here is to just attack the same point. The AI is dumb enough that every time they will try and fix that spot and fall to their death when you break the bridge beneath them. So Crash and Spyro realize they weren't enemies after all, and with some Sherlock Holmes level of detective work, figure out that Cortex and Ripto have teamed up. So they do the same thing and join forces against them. The next hub world is a generic ice world, and immediately after teaming up, decide to split up. Fucking bye! So this level introduces 3 new minigames, all of which I won't waste too much time on. One is a clone of that old helicopter flash game. One is the worst version of Breakout you can play. But hey, there's one with actual platforming, and it's the best goddamn minigame yet. Fun, challenging, has a box that changes the color of your pants. Actually, I don't quite get that one, but whatever. It's great, except for when shit like this happens. Turns out that Coco and the Professor are close to locating the bad guys, but Tiny Tiger won't let that happen, and it's time for another boss fight. Oh god damn it, it's in that stupid tank. Oh, never mind, it's actually super easy. Just spam bullets at him. Fair enough. There's trouble in paradise, however, as Cortex and Ripto are having a lover's spat about how they each think the other is worthless. I mean, they're not wrong. They both are kinda useless. So they summon Nina? Who is Nina? Hold on. Holy hell, this girl is edgy as shit. That's 2004 for you. I bet she listens to My Chemical Romance and has pictures of razor blades all over her MySpace page. It's okay, Nina. The world just doesn't understand you. Level 3 opens up with some mole guy. Okay, I'll be honest here. I never played any of the Crash or Spyro games beyond the original 3 of each. And I was like 8 when they first started coming out. I don't remember a lot of these characters. Anyways, so he tells me the Professor and Coco have been kidnapped because of course they have, and it's up to us to save them. The level is a fire level because there aren't many more generic level designs to pick from. There's only one new minigame this time where you fly a bat through a cave while shooting at enemies. It's really slow and really boring, but at least it's not difficult. So I locate Coco and the Professor, and Spyro looks absolutely fucking shocked that it was that easy. And Crash, well, Crash looks like he doesn't have a proper grasp on reality, which I guess is fitting. So it's up to Crash to distract Nina so Spyro can save your friends, which means it's time to ride that polar bear again, only this time boosting the whole way through so that demon child doesn't kill you. You trap Nina in a cage and escape with your friends, who have lost all their research that would help them find Cortex and Ripto, so they come up with an ingenious plan of finding the big bad guys and putting a tracer on them in order to help locate the villain. So Spyro goes back to level 1, and you get to pay Spyro's world a visit. So you know how it goes at this point, no new minigames, just harder versions of the old ones. Get the 5 crystals, yada yada yada. Finally, I get to fight Ripto. Took me like 5 minutes to figure out what his mechanic was, and it's basically just the bat game and you have to shoot his projectiles, but not all of them, only the ones that aren't transparent, and then you can shoot Ripto. Ripto escapes, but that idiot Crash forgot to put a tracer on him, so now we can't follow him. Luckily, Spyro fought Cortex off screen and put a tracer on him, so all's well that ends well. This is where I fucked up. There are bonus objectives in some of the minigames that give you clear crystals for completing them. But I didn't do that because no one ever mentioned them. Except now in order to continue, I have to collect those. I really didn't want to do that. But I did, because I love you guys. I hate myself. Now I have to go back through every minigame and get all the crystals. Finally, with 20 in hand, I begin my assault on Cortex's base of operations, which is just a generic space-themed level. Once I've beaten all the minigames, I'm ready to take down Ripto and Cortex once and for all. And what follows is the easiest boss fight of all time. I easily beat it in 25 seconds. We did it though. Crash and Spyro become lifelong friends and hug it out. That's literally how the story ends. That's actually disappointing. I don't have any closing thoughts on this game. It was mediocre in pretty much every sense of the word. I wonder if things would have gone differently if I had picked Spyro instead. Oh well. Maybe another time.
Maybe another time.
Maybe another time. Oh, that's nowhere else. If you have
Personally, I've always been a bigger fan of Spyro, so we're going to start with that one. Alright, gather around, children. It's time for a fantastic tale of... Wait, this feels familiar. Kind of like I've already done this. kind of like I've already written a 2,000-word essay like this, and I don't feel like repeating myself for a gag. The story opens up the same way as the Crash portion, only in gigantic Comic Sans. So, skip? Where do I begin? Remember how I said the platforming was decent in the first one? Well, somehow they fucked that up in the companion game. How? I don't understand. I guess they tried to make Spyro feel like he should if he were in his own game, so he has this slow gallop before he really gets going. But why the hell does it take him so long to turn around? Here's the real issue. The graphics on the ground lie to you. What do I mean? Hold on, I'll show you. You would expect the ground to end, say, here, right? But it doesn't. I can keep walking off the edge here till my entire character is floating there. Even worse, on the other side it's the complete opposite. You fall off before the ground even ends. What the fuck happened here? But whatever, let's just move on so I can put this game behind me. This time it doesn't look like there's any bonus objectives, so at least I've got that going for me. But the minigames are even worse this time around. Half of them are just luck-based. So I'm gonna go through them real quick. In this one, you drive a truck and shoot at guys while jumping over gaps. It's got the same problems as the Bat one, in that it's slow, but it's harder because you can't shoot directly in front of you, only in a stupid arc. This is a side-scrolling shooter, nothing to write home about, but at least it's a little faster and the tank doesn't control like ass this time. This is another scrolling shooter, only this one is total bullshit. So the camera is so close to your character, but the levels are made like a maze. Sometimes it's totally possible to pick the wrong path and get yourself killed with no way of making up for your mistake. So you die and have to play through the whole level all over again. The whole thing is basically memorization and it's totally unfair. And finally, the most bullshit minigame of all. So you have to control this mech thing and you press a button to switch from walking on the floor to the ceiling. Sounds easy enough, right? Except most of the time you can't see where you will drop. You could drop into electricity, a pit, a wall that will kill you. Every time you switch floors is a total leap of faith. The rest of the games are just repeats from the other game. But there's one more thing I'd like to touch on. It's not really a bad thing, but every time you beat a minigame you see this screen. It's not much, but it feels super condescending. Like, you did it, thanks for the effort, but we couldn't be bothered to make it more rewarding. At least in the Crash game you got a crystal and the counter went up, but I'm just nitpicking. So you go through the same 5 locations as the last game, but in a different order with slightly different layouts. The real differences are the boss fights. Well, most of them. First up, you fight Crash, and it's the same as the fight against Spyro from the first game. Second is, I don't know, Crunch? Is that a Spyro character? I can't be bothered at this point. This would be a halfway decent boss fight if Spyro's jumping mechanics didn't suck shit. You have to jump on him in the right spot so that the electricity hits him. Then, once he's been zapped enough, he'll cover his head and deflect the energy back. It's not a bad fight, assuming everything worked. The third fight is against Nina again, but weirdly you have to have her run into the cages to bust out the Professor and Coco, but I thought originally Crash distracted Nina, so why would she even be here? Again, this fight involves jumping over her, something Spyro clearly has an issue doing. After the fight, Spyro tells Crash to distract her, but she's already in a cage. I'm beginning to think that not a lot of continuity went into this game. The fourth fight is against Cortex, and he uses that stupid magnet minigame as a gimmick. This one is actually easier than the regular levels, because for the most part you just manically switch floors and fire shots at Cortex. And with that, I'm off to the final level. Or not. Turns out that in lieu of bonus objectives, in order to unlock the final stage, I need to go back and beat each minigame 3 times. 3 fucking times? That's 60 minigames. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. I'm not some sort of completionist. No, get that out of here. I'm not doing it. I'm done. I'll Google the ending. So in closing, don't play these games. There's almost nothing redeeming about either one. It's probably why they only cost me about $10. I don't have a way to end this video, so I'm just going to use a nifty trick the game taught me. Hey there, thanks for checking out this video, assuming you made it this far. Wow, this one was a doozy, but if you liked it, be sure to click that subscribe button. As always, likes and comments are greatly appreciated, and if you're looking for my social media stuff, you can find that in the description below. And if you want to see more of my ugly mug, you can click the annotation to see a video I made over 2 years ago. Until next time.